Do it.
What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter. I'm joined today with Anthony. Is it Vicino or is it Vicino or how do you pronounce your name?
You can say it either way. The American way my family says it is Vicino. But if you say Vicino, you got to do it with the hands and the fingers.
Vicino.
Yep, just like that.
Molto bene. All right, good stuff. And that's why my favorite audience member is here, is because I'm interviewing commercial real estate investors. I'm finding out what are their main motivations, what are their core competencies, and why. It's because we have to. It's the law. But also because it's fun. You need to know who you're overlapping with and all that sort of stuff. The biggest thing is we have to know each other's, your motivations, your core competencies, all that kind of stuff, or else it's not going to work out anyway. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, Anthony, can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, real quickly, I'm Anthony Vicino. I am the co-founding partner of Invictus Capital. We have about $50 million of assets under management. And what makes us weird or unique is that we're vertically integrated and we only focus here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. So Minneapolis, St. Paul, first-ring suburbs. And our core thesis when it comes to investing is if you take care of the residents, they take care of the building, that takes care of the investment. So that's why we decided to build vertical and build out our own property management company in-house, and it's been working pretty well for us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we've got a couple of different pieces already, but let's go through the motivation piece because sometimes I have newbies on the show and they know why they're doing it, but they don't know what they're going to be doing in it. So I go through these 5 different motivations first. The first one is not mine. It's preserving purchasing power. It's the people who have enough assets where the cash flow is making ends meet. Then if they're going to be making another acquisition, it's because they're staving off inflation, more likely than not. If you want for nothing, then you're going to have to buy more buildings just to make sure that inflation doesn't ruin the party. So that's some people's motivations. It's not mine. My bigger one is trading time directly for wealth instead of trading it for salary or wages. And that hit me because I was already in tech. My background is in CRM software. So I was building online funnels, segmenting lists, mass emails, all that sort of fun stuff. But the problem with earning wages or salary is you're paying more tax than anybody else. So I was going like, well, why don't I pivot into something where it's more advantageous, where I actually get to keep more of it? So that's what I'm up to. But most people I find are more interested in fast tracking their retirement, or more specifically, it's taking more control over their own time. So maybe that means they do want to actually retire. Maybe it just means that they want to work fewer months per year, or fewer weeks per month, or fewer days per week. But regardless, that's what they're up to. But the next 2 groups, they're not so much looking to take control of their time. Like the next one, they're just plain ambitious. They want to buy their entire hometown. They're looking for the generational wealth. They want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job, that sort of mentality. And that's great because that means they're going to stick around, unlike the people who are in a rush to retire. But the other group that's still going to stick around until they're like a fossil or something like that is the people who've chosen a sector of society, or maybe it's animals, or maybe it's the environment, or maybe they want to send a bunch of people to Mars. Whatever it is, they've realized that accumulating wealth, having that financial backing, is by far the most important part as a vehicle to make a big difference in society or in people's lives in general. And so as a result, they're making more acquisitions and building wealth. So of those 5 different motivations, Anthony, what combination of them resonates with you or describes you best?
I love that list, man. I think that's pretty dang good. For me, definitely it's the last 2. So I'm super ambitious, and real estate really, like, to understand why I got into it in the first place. It really wasn't about money. It wasn't about fast tracking retirement or capital preservation or anything. It was as I was looking around because I come from an entrepreneurial background. I've built a bunch of businesses, exited, and done really well for myself. But I was looking around me and I was looking for a vehicle to make an impact. How could I impact as many lives as possible? And when I look around, I'm like, real estate. It's everywhere. Everybody has a relationship with real estate. Whether you're a resident, you're a renter, you're an owner, you're an investor, like everybody has a relationship. So I saw the opportunity to have an infinite impact. And I was like, that's where I want to play. That's the game I want to play at. And I'm ambitious. And so if I'm going to play a game, I want to play it to the best of my ability. I'm not trying to beat anybody else. I'm just trying to, be the best version of myself that I can. And so when I think about how many lives that I can impact, it's not just about impacting, my family or my friends or even like my first ring contacts, but it's like, how can I make a meaningful impact that survives beyond us, that impacts our entire city or our entire state or entire country? So those last two definitely resonate for me a lot.
That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So you've already mentioned some of the things that you do in commercial, but one thing that's super important to me in this podcast is to make sure that you in the audience learn how to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate. And that's why I've got the Dan Does Deals commercial roll die. And you can go to dandoesdeals.com, download your own one. It's I don't even ask for your email address, which from a marketing perspective, that's like the worst thing ever. Okay.
Come on, you should, as a CRM guy, you should know this. Come on.
Right. But the reason why I want to do it, I want people printing it out and I want them showing to their parents and their friends and learning how to communicate effectively on that subject of commercial real estate. So make sure you download and print out your one, but let's go through this first. And that way, you know how my guest fits into commercial real estate as well. So let's start off with the repositioner because they are acquisitions people. That's why I got a picture of a few different properties, a bunch of paperwork. And what are they doing with all that paperwork and all that? Well, the first thing they're doing, there's a fancy word for it, is they're underwriting. And that means they're doing the math. They're saying, does this property actually make the amount of money that the seller says it is? And then they're going, well, how can we reposition it? In other words, what changes can we make to the property to make sure that it generates more money than it is right now? The main tools that a repositioner has in their tool belt to get more upside, the first one is more efficient operations. So you stop those Benjamins from going down the toilet there. So, but of course, there's more to operations than just unclogging toilets and doing maintenance, clearing hallways, mowing lawns, and collecting rents. There's also a marketing component, which is one of my fortes, and the sponsors that I've been hanging out with, that's what I've been doing for them mostly. And the marketing component is to make sure that the vacancy rate stays low, but there's also some other automations and whatnot. And the reason why I'm being kind of blasé about it is because real estate is hot. So operations alone is probably not going to cut it. It's probably not going to be enough upside. So the repositioner gets a contractor team to fix it up. They do the renovations. They end up making the place nicer so that people will pay more in rent with a smile on their face. And one issue with having a contractor team, though, is you got to keep tabs on them. And if you are from the internet like me, if you're a repositioner and you're from the internet, you're going to need a local. You're going to need boots on the ground. You're going to need somebody who can be there in an hour or two, because that's not going to be me. I don't even want to have to find my passport in an hour or two. So you got the local, you got the contractor team, you got the repositioner, and you got the operations. And a lot of tenants would think that that is all the owners. But of course, it's not that simple. You're going to have to turn around to the financiers. Of course, the repositioner can find upside from better lending, and the financiers are people who deal with the money and the paperwork only. So we're talking about the fund managers, the banks themselves, and all that sort of stuff. So when the repositioner says, okay, here's my team and the property I'm looking at, and I want, let's say it's tens of millions of dollars or something like that, and they need to borrow tens of millions of dollars, well, what's going to happen is they're going to send it to the financier, and the financier is going to say, hey, there's one thing missing that we need to know, which is, who's the sponsor? Who's the KP? And what that's all about, a lot of coaching programs, they kind of gloss over that part. But the way it works is if you want to get a loan for one of these big apartment complexes, let's say it's like 150, 350 unit apartment complexes, who knows? If you want to be eligible for the loan, somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset. Okay. And there's a little bit more, like you have to have a certain amount of liquidity. And then you also have to have a balance sheet in the GP team of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all of those pieces, you've got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Anthony, what are your core competencies that you're most likely to contribute to your team?
So of those roles, definitely the KP sponsor, financier, but the one that really resonates a lot is operations. So for me, I'm a firm believer that, the difference between $1 million idea and $1 million is exactly $1 million worth of execution. So it's one thing to say, this is the plan. I can put it on a spreadsheet. Numbers don't lie, but I can make them say whatever I want to. And at the end of the day, I need to go out there and back up my numbers with actual operations. So creating systems that scale and keeping an eye on the bottom line. Because one of the best lessons I ever learned in business is that a dollar saved is worth more than a dollar earned, because a dollar earned is always on a margin, right? And that seems like really stupid simple, but it's true. Like for every dollar of revenue I bring in, if I'm operating on a 50% margin, I only keep 50 cents of that. But if I can cut a dollar out of expenses, that goes straight to my bottom line. And so we try to be really regimented and disciplined with our expenses. And that's that's in a nutshell, like my superpower is like looking at things and being like, hey, we don't need that. We can do this better. How can we make this more efficient? And creating a system and a process so that it's self-perpetuating and self-improving.
That's beautiful. And as far as you mentioned before that your ideal property, you focus in the Twin Cities, and so that's the geography component. As far as your ideal property goes, I should probably talk to you first. When commercial investors talk to each other and they say, "Hey, what's your buy box? What's your ideal property?" They're really asking about three things. First one's geography. Okay, so what state, what county, what neighborhood, whatever. That's a must know. Okay. The second one, especially if you've got something like if it's multifamily or if it's self storage or whatever, you're going to have a unit count, and that's going to be absolutely pivotal, because people who work on smaller numbers of units, they won't work on the bigger ones in general. So we need the geography, we need the unit count, and the third one's called class. And I don't like it because they have two different words that are exactly the same with different meanings. Okay. The first meaning of class is the condition of the building. So is it beat up or is it immaculate? The second definition of class is the actual location in terms of what's the crime rate, what are the schools like in that area, and both of them are rated just like in school, where it's like B minus, A plus, whatever, where D is bad generally as far as like beat up, and A is fantastic. So as far as a property that's easier to say yes to, more difficult to say no, what you looking for, Anthony?
So like you said, Twin Cities, that's a given. That's our geography. In terms of unit counts, we focus between 20 and 80 units. That's a sweet spot for us. 20, there's something about it that's too big for a lot of people looking at 2, 3, 4 units, 5 units. They're like, 20, that's too much. And then 80 is a little bit too small for really big institutional players. So that gives us an opportunity and get in this like forgotten middle. And we like to group things geographically. So buying like a 20 unit here, 30 unit on the same block or right across the block, so we can get scales of efficiency. And we used to focus a lot on Class C assets in Class B neighborhoods. These days, we focus almost exclusively on Class B assets in B/A neighborhoods. So like really desirable neighborhoods, good buildings. What we're really looking for, though, is that there's opportunity to improve revenues or decrease expenses. If there's that, and the building is well cared for, not falling down, and it's in a desirable neighborhood, like we'll take a look at it.
All right, beautiful. So then my next question then, and it's honestly my favorite part about commercial real estate, is because you have so many different facets, so many different roles, nobody's going to be doing all of them for like any amount of time really, but we're all so better suited to help some people than others. A lot of people like to meet beginners. Me personally, because of my marketing background in tech and whatever, I'm always on the lookout for more sponsors and KPs, but without breaking any SEC restrictions. So like if you have a 506C, you can go ahead and say whatever you want, but if it's a 506B, don't entice investors. So, but who are you best suited to help in commercial real estate, Anthony?
For us, it's about small business owners, medium-sized business owners, entrepreneurs. So I come from a background of having built businesses, and I understand that it can become the golden goose. You just keep investing back into your business and you're growing it, because that's where, if I put $1 in, I can get $10 out. But there comes a point where if you just keep doing that indefinitely, it becomes your sole mean of income, and it's very stressful. You don't know what exiting it looks like, and you don't know how to disassociate yourself from the business. So we like to work with small business owners, entrepreneurs who are just like us in a past life, who, they're looking to diversify into other income streams so that they're not so beholden to that business.
All right, awesome. So that's who you want to connect with. And as far as ways to connect with you, I'm always on LinkedIn. That's one of the best ways to find me. But how about you? Is there a website that's better, or how should people reach out if they're a
Yeah,
good?
I'm on all the medias, all of them. So if you want LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you come find me. You can find what we do at invictusmultifamily.com. And we wrote a book that came out last year, and it's been sitting on like the top 10 of commercial real estate for the past 9 months or 8 months or whatever. So that's been pretty cool. And instead of like sending people to go buy the book, if you guys want a free copy, just shoot me an email, Anthony@invictusmultifamily.com. It's designed to help new aspiring passive investors learn about real estate syndications in a way that makes them feel confident enough to take action. Whether you come invest with us afterwards or not, doesn't matter to me. It's a vehicle for impact and like getting the information into people so that they can utilize it and go invest better. That's my goal.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I only have one other thing, which is actually for you in the camera, which is if you look under my left hand, don't look too carefully, especially if you're on a desktop, because there's this big, ugly red button. And the only way to get rid of this ugly red button is you click on it and then it turns gray. The gray one is amazing, okay? Because it has a magical power. What it does is it means that YouTube starts to pay for these videos instead of me. And you want that, right? It costs you nothing. You don't have to put in your email address or pay anything, no credit cards, blah, 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 blah. And if I'm being transparent, what it really means is that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions. But you don't have to watch those. You've already done me an enormous favor by joining me, just like Anthony has done me an enormous favor today by joining. So this has been fantastic getting to know you better.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man.
Sweet, thanks. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me. Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay, are you already logged into 506BME?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506B me, everybody.
I just want to tell you, because I've actually seen your website, Real Estate is a Scam, before, and I loved it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I think it's really so spot on. There's good stuff, bad stuff in every industry.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell. For Dan the Man.
And thank you. Turn that subscribe button from red like his beard to gray like his beard will be.
So I met Dan through some networking groups for real estate investing. He's a great guy from what I know about him. He's very ambitious and he makes it easy to come on with his questions and has a great setup. It's easy, it's clear, concise, and I'd recommend going on his interviews for anyone that's considering it.
It was unlike anything I've ever experienced. It was super fun. The process was so easy a caveman can do it. I mean, if you guys haven't done it yet, you guys need to get on his calendar. Just take 15 minutes of your time, get exposure, find out who Dan is, what he's about. He's a true trifecta. And if you don't know who he is, get in touch with him. Google his name, find him on LinkedIn, do whatever you can. Just reach out to him.
So I really appreciate the format. Like I've told you a couple times before, I think it's really great because me personally, I'm very long-winded. I have to purposefully make things more concise, but the way I take things in is I definitely prefer things to be concise and straight to the point and concentrated. And the chance encounters really do that great for individuals. So you can get a good grasp on who they are, what do they do, why do they do it, what space do they operate in. That's why I love Chance.